Hello and welcome back to Shelf Centered. This is Bryce, and I know I'm coming at you from a completely different angle. This is my attempt at not making you seasick, okay? Or car sick, or whatever you want to call it. I tend to get some comments here and there, not unwarrantedly, that I tend to move around a bit, and that's because when I stand, I'm moving. I can't help but jitter around and everything. So here's my attempt. Here's my attempt at changing things, getting a little more intimate here, right? We want to get to know each other. Every line on my face. But this is my chance to talk about news in science fiction and fantasy, things that are interesting to me, things that I can't wait to talk about. There's some big news this week, especially in the cover reveal department. There's some other media that I also like to talk about when it comes to science fiction, fantasy, and sometimes horror, and we'll get to that because we're jumping in right now. The first news and some of the biggest for me, I just can't wait. This is from John Marco. John Marco, we haven't heard a lot from in recent years, and this is just excellent news. He is going the self-published route. He's been with DAW or DAW, I don't know what people pronounce it in speaking out loud terms. I'm a book nerd, so I've been calling it DAW. But they're a pretty big publishing, especially for fantasy and science fiction. They've been his publisher for ages. We've got the Tyrants and Kings series. We've got the Lucian or Bronze Knight or Inhumans series. That's three names for one series, and excellent as well. You've got his YA book, but this new one coming out next year, self-published, is called The Bloody Chorus, and I just can't wait. I am here for it. This is so cool. It's Felix Ortiz, the master of cover art, has already got us some cover art, so I'm going to post that here. But this is huge news for me because this is a book that John Marco was talking about. I feel like it was years ago. Years ago, he's talking about this book. So he was having frustrations, to say the least, and I blogged about it. I blogged about it on different blogs, not even just my own, but just about the frustrations with publishers at the time, especially the traditional publisher that he had. Just frustration after frustration. But then this book came along, this idea, and he was writing it and having such a wonderful time writing it. And he would just gush about it on his blog, and it was just so exciting to hear. It made me so happy, and not to mention there are dragon whales. And so sign me up, okay? Sign me up for dragons alone, but dragon whales, holy cow. So just the sheer excitement and love for writing that John was just showing just made me so excited for this book. And then now it's been years and nothing. So I happened to just follow up on Goodreads not too long ago, just saying, hey, you used to talk about this, just wondering what's up, nothing. Hey, no, you can't, I'm not going to push anything here, but so excited that he actually answered me and was like, actually, it's getting published next year, and I'm going to do this myself. So excellent news. He's already got it up on his website, so check out his website, the full artwork. It's brilliant. It's Felix Ortiz, and if you know Felix Ortiz, like his work is worth getting framed in pretty much everything that he's done. Anyway, I cannot gush about The Bloody Chorus enough. Just just an evocative title alone. Then you see this, and I'm all in. I love a good nautical adventure. I don't know, it just looks like a ship on the front. So count me in. I'm very excited. Then we've got another cover reveal news, Generation Ship by Michael Mamey. I might be pronouncing that wrong. Just looks cool. Good Generation Ship is always has me curious. Generation Ship story. That's one in Chasm City by Alistair Reynolds. There's a Generation Ship storyline in that, not the main one, but a healthy plot, and it's just an interesting dynamic and an interesting thing to explore. If humanity is going to really take on space travel, we've got to, you know, that's something that has to kind of be contemplated with how insanely vast space is. Then in other cover news, we've got The Pyres of Vengeance. This is book 2, The Swords of Dominion by N.C. Cusis. Again, pronunciation, I'm just reading and I mispronounce things all the time. So just looks cool. Just a cool cover. It's book 2. I didn't even know about book 1, so I'm gonna have to check that out too. Check out the cover. Always try to hit the put the artist here, because I'm terrible about reading names regardless, but I do think the artist definitely, if we're talking cover reveals, should be mentioned here. Felt a little called out by Patrick Leo on a live stream just recently here, so I'm going, okay, I need to be better at that, because he's 100% right. Gotta point out the illustrators and artists. Then we've got Deep Black cover reveal from Miles Cameron. This is book number 2 in the Arcanium Peri, and apparently the next 2 books have also been picked up by the publisher, at least the UK publisher, Galangs. I should know that by now, how to pronounce that, but anyway, very cool. Miles Cameron's an author that's been on my list for a while, but I have not yet gotten there. Then, because we're still talking about covers and art, we've got Ryan Cahill. His series, a self-published series, but Ryan Cahill, these illustrations are looking really cool and got me very curious. I own a number of Ryan Cahill's books, and this just gets me even more excited to read in this series. So definitely looking forward to that. Then in book publishing news, we've got a new upcoming Dresden Files a short story in the Instinct anthology. This one's apparently going to be covering or following Mouse. Mouse, the freaking like tank dog, magical tank dog that's like almost impervious to everything. I don't know, maybe not, but just who doesn't love Mouse, this giant dog that is just awesome, and what a character in its own right, even though we don't get into Mouse's head, so this will be a good time and good opportunity. I feel like I know Mouse quite well just from Harry Dresden's head, but anyway, this is really at the point of any Dresden is great, because I've been putting off Briefcases. That's the only Dresden I have yet that I haven't really touched, and I've been going, okay, I need my Dresden fix, but with how long it took for the last 2 books to come out from the book before that, I kind of have been waiting almost for a reveal of something before I can really dive into that. So that's the plan, but here's a great one. Mouse is worth getting the anthology just to follow Mouse alone, and I'm sure there's other books, great books and stories from other authors in that same anthology. All right, then big news. You're of course going to hear it elsewhere before you're going to hear it here, but I thought it was interesting because I have just read Breach of Peace by Daniel Greene, and so I thought this is where I talk about news that interests me. I'm sorry, this is what we do. He had 3 announcements. I think the biggest one right now is just that his Kickstarter is already funded. I think he was just asking for 1,000, and it's like it's blown that out of the water. So, and of course these bookmarks just look really good. I definitely been tempted, and they're not like out of the range of possibility to buy. They're pretty, I mean, it's funny because there's the donate $10 just because you support the project, and then I think one of the levels is just like $5. So it's like, so you might as well get something. I guess you got to pay for shipping. I'm sure maybe that's expensive especially in certain places. But also he's got a new edition from Wraithmarked. That's his new publisher, which is kind of like an independent focused publisher, which, you know, does it get less independent once you get a publisher? I think so. But there will be a combined edition of Breach of Peace and Rebel's Creed. It's going to have the Wraithmarked treatment, which they make some mighty fine books. Look at the Sword of Kaigan alone, and then and also I noticed in the Kickstarter, speaking of which, you can actually add on, if you missed the Sword of Kaigan, you could get one of the tiers of the bookmarks from Daniel Greene, and then add on other Wraithmarked books like the Sword of Kaigan, which that's one I missed. Not just because there's only so much you could spend on special editions, and you could just keep going and going. And I've had to kind of pull myself back. I've gone a little crazy this year. And so as much as I want the Sword of Kaigen, now I'm going, oh, I have another chance. Ugh. So it may or may not happen. We'll see. And then Greene, Daniel Greene also announced he's got a new book, Neon Ghosts, A Witch's Sin. So it's the Neon Ghosts series. It looks like, as he mentioned in his recent video, that it's cyberpunk. So it looks good and it sounds interesting. And you're going to see an upcoming review of Breach of Peace. Frankly, I'm quite impressed at what he was able to do. It's pretty impressive that he's got the writing chops, and to just put himself out there as a reviewer of other people's work, like, I think that takes a lot of guts, and it was good, and I enjoyed it. All right, then in media, we're getting to the media. Lots of book news. That's what I try to focus on. But here we go in media. A couple things. Something I don't know why I didn't mention, but I wore my Greendale Community College shirt today in honor of it, because the 6 seasons and a movie is actually happening. The movie has been announced. There's not a lot that's been given as far as information. I listened to a Danny Pudi who plays Abed, one of my favorite characters. He's on a podcast talking about, hey, so we're bringing Glover back. We're gonna have a Troy, and I just absolutely hope so. I know in recent kind of some community things, he's been open to it. It's just, let's hope that it can actually happen, because Troy, let's be honest, he's like the best part of the whole show. So finally, I thought this was interesting. I am eventually going to post a review of the whole series once nobody cares about it at all. That's usually my timing. But of the Rings of Power, the Amazon Lord of the Rings series, I'll be honest, I was quite disappointed. I almost gave up after episode 5. It was so slow and just absolutely obnoxious in parts, and just frustrating. It's like, at least write something good, and I just felt the writing was so bad at that point that I had high expectations, but I don't know why. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't. All they got was the rights to the appendix of Book 3, The Return of the King. Couldn't even get the Silmarillion. I mean, is there any more signs that we need that it's a cash grab? We saw The Hobbit, and when it went from 1 to 3 movies, that was already a sign there. I still have never rewatched them. It wore me out, and I am a huge fan. I'm literally reading The Fellowship of the Ring to my kids right now, and I'm loving it, and they're having a blast. At least they tell me to my face. But if we didn't have all the signs there, and I still had hope that it would be good, and especially with Amazon's treatment of the Wheel of Time, it's hard not to just make comparisons, and it's like, okay, just because you throw a ton of money at something, clearly that's not all you need. Anyway, having said all that, our glorious King Theoden of Rohan made a statement recently, and I can't say I disagree with him. So Bernard Hill, the actual actor, essentially just said what I said, which is, yeah, it's a cash grab, like, clearly. I don't think he had any stake in that in any way. I mean, I think he makes this check because people, like, the original trilogy is beloved, and maybe even more so after watching The Hobbit. You kind of go back and go, hey, at least we have that. At least we have this. That's not perfect, and I'm reading The Fellowship right now again for the 3rd time, and, going, yeah, the movie's quite a bit different, but also keeps a lot of the sensibilities, and a lot just makes sense to so it's not a 20-hour long movie for each one. So you couldn't just go into every single detail. And I thought the cuts that they made are they work, right? I don't think Christopher Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien's son, agrees with me. But anyway, it's just interesting that this got all blowing up. But at least, it is kind of nice to see someone just being honest and going, I mean, clearly, yeah, right? Like, was it not a cash grab? I mean, that's what Amazon's whole deal is, right? Taking over the world. It's, I did have hope because they've done some things right, the Man in the High Castle and stuff, even though man, talk about the most boring or disappointing Philip K. Dick book that I've ever read. The Man in the High Castle. Man, I had high expectations for that, especially after the show. But anyway, disappointed. The book, so the opposite way. Anyway, all that is to say, I'm going to get a review going. I have my notes already written. I probably have more to add. I continue to add more. But, I don't think he's saying anything that is really too controversial, other than the fact that it's coming from someone who probably in some way benefits. I think there's a benefit, even if I've heard people go, oh, well, all the, Elijah Wood's paid off or whatever. I don't know. I don't think so. I think they see kind of some benefit in promoting the thing that relates to their thing, and that they all win. I just think you kind of stick to that. So anyway, that's been the news as far as I see it for this week, and we will catch you later. Thank you so much for stopping by. Do not forget to like and subscribe if this is the thing you dig, and come back. We're going to try to do, I think, a little bit better to not be so annoying with my movements and my fidgeting. That's the goal here. All right, take care. Bye.